share it with your friends. We would love that.
Absolutely.
We just want to, keep help others trend up as well. So yeah. So today we're going into Enneagram 5, and we're excited because Enneagram 5 is a number that is kind of, I don't know, maybe misunderstood a bit. And so Enneagram 5, for those of you that maybe are familiar or not familiar with it, is the investigator. And you've probably met these individuals. I think these people get the rap of life of like being misunderstood and the quiet and loners type, because they're always in their heads thinking. In the movies, they're kind of like the forensic people in the CSI Miami type things, where they're like always the ones in the lab and they're just really methodical and stuff. And so yeah, just to have you an idea of what a 5 does, and when we have the beach scenario, a 5 is the person that is collecting seashells and leaves and noting the bird prints, right? And so with hotel toiletries, they are trying to figure out why the only scent hotels always use is lemon verbena. So they're kind of in their heads. They're kind of, always trying to, I don't know, map out the world.
Well, 5s are very observant, right?
Yeah.
They really observe and understand like what's going on.
Right.
5s are people who can be attracted to the sciences, which is the task of observing what's in front of you. They can be quiet and they can be independent, but they're very innovative. So sometimes some people like myself, who I'm a 3, and what am I, 3-2, I think, or I forgot what numbers.
3-2.
Yeah, 3-2. Yeah. I can get a little frustrated with 5s because they don't talk.
Right.
And I'm trying to
you're trying to get things done.
I'm trying to get things done. I'm trying to work, but they're like very, so they're visionary pioneers. They're ahead of their time. They are basically afraid of being useless and helpless or incapable, but their basic desire is to be capable and competent. So for those who haven't taken the test and have identified as a 5,
right,
you just want to be efficient with your time. You want to get things done,
right,
even at the expense of social interaction.
Right.
So what do you think, Sebastian?
Yeah, so I think 5s and 3s are pretty similar too, because it's kind of like about getting the task done. And I think 3s and 5s go about it maybe in a different way, whereas 3s may be more boisterous and loud and like, look at me, look at what I've achieved, and trying to like, and 5s are just like, I just want to get the job done. I'm thinking about the best way to do it, and just leave me in my thoughts and in my room, just working out this thing, and I'm going to work it out. So the basic fear for a 5 is being useless, helpless, or incapable, which then the desire is to be capable and competent. So it's a 5 really, even though they might be seen as someone that's more in their heads, they're more quiet in the groups in the social structure. They actually do want to feel valued by everyone else. They want to be seen as individuals that can be counted on. And so we sometimes count them out because we're like, oh, they don't really value other people or want it. But it's not true. 5s do completely really value what others think of them and whatnot. But some of the words that describe 5s: insightful, innovative, cerebral, perceptive, intense, isolated, and detached. And 5s can excel as scientists. Albert Einstein, I'm sure, was a 5. Doctors, analysts, engineers, inspectors, and judges. So these very good careers and responsibilities that are very important for society, and require a lot of mental capacity.
Yeah, for sure. As I think about this, even though you may not be a 5 and a 5, this is good for us pastors, and for any other Christian to realize that the way that people experience or go through their experience with God is going to depend on their temperament, right?
Right.
So, in the Bible, someone that is described as being a 5 is Thomas, the disciple. He's the man that was famously described as someone who, when heard that Jesus had resurrected, was like, wait a second.
He's
whoa, I have to see it for myself. I need
gotta
to
see
touch
it to believe it.
I need to sense that it is him before I believe it. So people are going to experience the relationship with God, who is invisible to us. He is visible but invisible right now. Faith, believing in something that you can't see, is gonna be difficult, but there is their journey is just gonna look different. It's gonna look different than like our journeys. We're not 5s.
Right.
But yeah.
It's very true. I have a good friend of mine, Brian, is a 5, and we're both big Barca fans, and they're playing today in the Champions League.
Hey.
And so I hope they win today. They're still in the group stages, so it's not that crucial. But he's a 5, and it's very interesting. You know, he's very smart, and comparing in our friend circle when we were at Andrews, and kind of how different personalities react and stuff. He was kind of a little more quiet and whatnot, but every time he talked, it was very deep, and he really thought through things, and very smart, very wise. So it's very interesting when you look at a 5 and you start, trying to be able to communicate in their terms, just like with any number, right? How those numbers come alive, right? And so,
my little brother is a 5, and sometimes I get really frustrated with him. He's like, probably
say
listening.
What you say what you think.
No, not even that. I'm like, dude, just believe me, stop doubting me, like just believe me. He's like, wait, but I have to. He's the type of guy, we all know that person who you tell him something, like, and then they go on Google. They go on Google and they're like, oh, you're right. So we all have, some shades of 1 through 9, but they're the ones that really need to see it for themselves. And it's, I guess that's what we have to learn, to accept others and how they experience life and how they process.
But I think that's a smart thing, because especially like, for example, in our world, I was reading somewhere in a study that they did, I think of Gen Z, and how like they'll fact check you. As you're preaching, as we're pastors. And so they'll fact check you and make sure you're saying the right thing. And whereas other generations were more quick to just, if someone in authority was saying it, then I'll believe it, and that's it. Right? And so I think that trait that 5s do possess, that they're like, I'm going to check it for myself and find out, I think is important. Like Thomas, right? Even though a lot of us look at him and he's just doubtful, and he's like, no, I want to make sure I don't want to be moved by just the feelings or what everyone else is saying. I want to, for myself, know and experience it and say, okay, oh yeah, right. This is really Jesus. He has his holes in his hands. And So some of the key motivations are to possess knowledge, to understand the environment, to have everything figured out, which can be tough, because sometimes we don't, and you can have everything figured out, right? In a way of defending yourself from threats from the environment.
So could a 5 really struggle with like thinking they're right, because they've really like experience or already learned this, like they have to be right, they can't be wrong, even though they've made a mistake? They probably can, huh?
I think so. And it's just kind of like, I've done the research.
And
I'm right. And so in conversations, I feel like we may envision that happening where, someone is more motivated because they're the boss and saying, no, whatever I say goes, like an 8 maybe. And a 5's like, in the meetings, think about it, in the business world, the boss comes in either a 1 or an 8, a 3, and they're like, this is what we're doing. And the 5's like, I've tested the market scheme. There's going to be an economic fall in X, right? Y, or we're going to, we're going to have major loss. And the 8 will be like, no, we're not. And then I think what happens with 5s is that they can be labeled as pessimists too. Right? Because they're just like, no, I think I've seen it, and I don't think this is, they can, I guess, maybe realist, but they've counted the cost, and they've really realized like, no, this probably isn't a smart idea. Whereas a 7 would be like, just follow your heart and let's just go for adventure. Like, who cares what the costs are? And the 5's like, nope, I rather be in a place that is, so you start already envisioning how like different numbers reacting to different things. Whereas for a 5, not having all the information can be danger for them, like a big red flag. For a 7, which we haven't talked about yet, because they're thrill seekers, they're like, I don't need no information. Like, that's enough for me. Let's just go do it. If there's some danger, I like that. So it's interesting how different numbers can, and you need different people in different places to kind of, I think it's like checks and balances, right? To kind of balance out. But
no, for sure. So what are some things that 5s can, if you're a 5, or if you know a 5, what are some things I can like recommend to them on what to do and how to?
5s, I would say learning to notice when you're thinking and speculating takes you out of your immediate experience. I think every number can in some way find this problem.
For sure, every number does, it just varies in degrees, but I think 5s may have a hard time disengaging with work, right?
Right? Whatever their work is. So
if you're a 5 and you're spending time with your family, but you're thinking about, I mean, that happens to me, and I'm not like primarily a 5. You need to really disconnect and have a healthy balance
Right.
Man, it must be really tough for like pastors who are 5s, because you're always thinking about like the deep theological or practical applications of your faith. And then your wife is like, dude, just be here. We're watching our son play in the sandbox.
Right. Just be here. And he's like, no, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
You know who I think might be a 5? Tony Stark.
Tony Stark? Oh, okay.
Think about, like, for example, in the last movie, we can, it's been out for a while. We haven't talked about Avengers in a while, but what's the last one? Infinity War?
No, Endgame.
Endgame. Right when he's when some of the people come, Captain America and stuff, they come and they're like, can you help us go back in time, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I have my life ready. And what does he do when they leave? He's working on it, and his mind is like, I think, and he's just working, and I mean, he's just in his mind. And then his daughter comes in, right? And so it's kind of like this idea where you're not living in the moment. You're kind of imagining already. And it's funny because when he has his conversation with what's his wife's name? Not Dawn. Whatever. Pepper Potts. Yeah. She's like, it's funny because I feel like I do that with Chantal too. He'll come and say, hey, so how's everything? And she's like, yeah, doing good. He's like, okay, so I cracked the code, right? So the whole thing was just to pretend to be interested in her just so he can. So I think 5s can do that, where you're just like thinking already and you're not really present in the moment. And it's nice because his daughter comes in a different scene, and she's like looking and repeats what he's saying. And so it's kind of like it's nice to have people in your life that are kind of ground you. Like it's like a balloon, hot air balloon that's floating. You need someone that's kind of like, hey, stay here for a while, be with me. So
for sure.
So so something that's important, be in the moment.
Be in the moment. And 5s also struggle with being too intense, or they're high strung. They may have a hard time relaxing. And then this goes back to the idea of always working something in their minds.
Right.
So they're always like thinking about this or that. Sometimes they're not able to just like relax and spend time. At times I get very like thinking about like, I have to do this, I have to do that, so you have to like really, no matter what number you are, you need to have moments to just relax and unwind.
No, that's important. Also, I think you see many possibilities, but often do not know how to choose among them or judge which is more or less important. So it can be helpful to get advice from someone whose judgment you trust while you are gaining perspective on your situation. So knowing that it's not just up to you to get all the information, right? I feel like in friend groups, you'll see that where it's like only one person seems like to be actually thinking, and other people are like, yeah, let's just go do it. Yeah, let's jump in the lake. And it's like, guys, it's frozen. Like, so, but taking time to take, advice from others, I think is important, and listening to others, because others might have an input or a view that you don't have.
It's
important. Very good.
Another thing that 5s do is they get like so focused on a project, but you would think they would finish it. No, they then get distracted by another project. And then so 5s are people who, if you're a husband to and you're like a handyman around your own house, you're one that starts a project, and then you do another project, and then at the end of the day you have 10 projects that are halfway done or not done. And you need to really focus on one, make sure you get it done, and you move forward.
Yeah, and I think I remember an instance where I had another friend that was a 5, and we were having a dialogue, kind of, borderline disagreement, but it was a dialogue, and everyone was voicing their frustrations. And I remember talking to him after, when stuff, and out he was a 5, and he's like, yeah, when we were sitting there, like the 4 during the conversation was like, guys, but I feel like we need to do this. And the 8 was like, we said this and we need to stick with it. And the ones were like, no, this isn't right. We need to do what's right, and the 5 was quiet. And the whole time he told me after, he's like, when we were talking and everyone was voicing their things, I was thinking of different scenarios that could make everyone happy, right? So he's like, okay, maybe this works, we can do that. So very analytical, breaking down everything and saying, okay, maybe we have to go with this way. This way seems to be the best way. So we need 5s, because sometimes the other numbers are so headstrong in what they want. And a 5, and I think maybe 9s can come and say, a 9 can be like, hey, maybe there's other ways. And then, hey, 5, what do you think? And the 5 will be like, hey, have we all thought about this? I think this angle helps everyone get what they want. And you start seeing how every number has strengths, but the weaknesses, like I said last episode, the strength of one number can help the weakness of a number and of another
for
number.
sure.
So
And
how we can
that's why,
work together
yeah,
and
no,
as a
no.
team.
And when church is done right, like,
Right.
it's a gathering of people, and everybody
Yeah.
has a different perspective, and you can edify and strengthen each other.
Right. Right.
Sometimes, the 8s or people who are 7s,
Right.
who are more like headstrong, are the ones that are primarily the ones in charge
Yeah.
of churches or so forth. But you need a
Right.
5 to help you
Right.
really understand.
Just
You need a
think of
5
other
to really be
possibilities. Yeah.
a good neutral, not neutral in the sense that they don't have an opinion, but they really help you analyze what's going on of
Right.
everything.
Right. 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 Right.
5s also have a hard time to trust people, to open up emotionally and make themselves available in various ways. Why do you think that's the case? I think, what do you, I have
That's a
my
good
opinion,
point.
but what do you
What do you think?
what do you
Let
think?
me chew on that for a second.
I think 5s can, because 5s are very observable.
Mm.
They like observing, they don't like showing. So
Oh.
5s could also like be like, well, I think this and that, so I've seen it. And you're like, well,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Well, I think this. It can
Right.
be, but they can be wrong because they like being right. They like seeing and then observing and then letting people know. Uh, like
Right.
one of the biggest fears for 5s is to be wrong,
Right.
because
Right. Right.
you like observing, you like obviously observing the right thing.
And
You
being
don't want
proved
to,
wrong. Yeah.
yeah. So like, they can, 5s need to really find a friend that you're transparent with,
Right.
because we all, like, some people are too transparent and some people are not transparent.
Right.
So
Right.
you need
Right.
to have that balance, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think sometimes too, you can shoot yourself on the foot because you're thinking like you can already see potential problems in relationship
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like, this
yeah,
person doesn't do
yeah,
it. And then by doing that, you're already setting yourself up for failure rather
yeah,
than, allowing yourself to be, I don't know, surprised for the good.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it can be tough because people may not think like you. I don't know how common 5s are, but and then
I,
you
yeah,
might see with other people that what you see as danger, they see as excitement and adventure, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so, but I do want to point out the strengths of 5s is that you're driven by logic and straight thinking more than emotions, which
yeah.
you can then help the other numbers that are more led by
Emotions.
their emotions or their hearts. I think if I'm trying to remember correctly, 8, 9s, and 1s are led by their guts. 2, 3s, and 4s are led by their hearts,
Hmm.
and 5, 6, 7s. Is it 5, 6, 7? Are led by their minds. I have to double check that. But yeah, just seeing how different people, are motivated by different things. And so you can tend to be distant and aloof when you're unhealthy, but when you're Christ-centered and whole, you bring brilliance and insight to scriptural truth. So just the way you can see life and break it down and just see, like, I feel like, those sermons we've heard of, like, the complexity of life and look at how the
Yeah,
plants are made, or like this insect and how it, and then you're like, wow, creation and God is so amazing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of power in that. Enneagram in Coffee says that energy is a limitless resource. Uh,
yeah,
when
yeah.
dealing with 5s.
Pastor Craig Groeschel says that, for 5s, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help; it's a sign of
Mm,
wisdom.
that's good. Good. Good.
Yeah. And I think we all need 5s to help us get through like some analytical problems that we may have.
Right. Right. Right.
So again, this goes back to the theme that we've been pushing. That we're stronger together than when we are
Mm-hmm.
apart, and it's very good to have 5s. Very good.
Yeah. No, it really is. It really is, and we really need 5s because you guys help us think outside the box and
Yeah.
maybe in the box. You help us see different angles, and you spend enough time in your brain that it can be bad, or in your mind and your thoughts, but you can help us see angles and things that we haven't seen. So
Yeah.
thank you, 5s. I appreciate you. I don't have a lot of 5s on my list. I know 5. Brian is a really close friend of mine, so I appreciate you, Brian, and
Yeah.
all that you bring into our
I,
minds and friendships.
I, I need to be very loving to my little brother, who
Yeah, yeah.
he's my little brother, so you should listen to what I say. But
Right.
again, he's not so little anymore, and
Yeah, yeah.
he's a
They
smart
need
man
that.
himself, and
Yeah, yeah.
he can do his research, and I can
Awesome.
just have patience.
Yeah. Or you can just use his research, whatever he researches. He might be in a good person of like, hey, what iPhone should I get? Or should I switch over to Samsung?
He
And
could, but he's
right.
my little brother, so I have
So
to
you
get it
don't, yeah,
right.
you still got to be like, no, I can't give you that. Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, fives are, that's a good point. Fives are those that you go to that review stuff on YouTube, I feel like, and they break things down and like, this one is better because it has a better chip and memory and RAM and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this Enneagram 5. We hope you coming back and stick around for episode 6 of the Enneagram types, type 6. We hope this has been a blessing. Again, like, comment, share, and keep training up. Peace.
Peace.